Hey, what up, JJ?
What up, bro?
What up, Alejandro?
What up, man?
Got some good stuff.
Gonna be reading from the book.
Okay.
Where I went looking at places this past weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah, bro. I absolutely see what you're saying. It's how imperative it is, like of the utmost importance.
Let's go. Good stuff, JJ. Way to apply everything that we're talking about in this group. Be a living example of it.
The action, bro. Great word.
What word? Action?
Yeah.
Let's go.
To have an
agree.
effect. Have an effect. That's what action is, right? Have an effect, right? You're just having an effect in physical reality. That's what action is, right?
True that. All right, y'all. Well, welcome. I see a lot of people are on the live stream in the group. If you want to join, feel free to click the Zoom link. If you don't want to join, you just want to listen in, that's cool. Just warning you, Facebook is designed to get your dopamine going all sorts of ways. And so if you're on Facebook, sometimes then it's like going to feed you the little orangish, reddish, notification bubble and all that stuff that makes you then want to click off. And for the next 40 minutes, about to go really deep on a concept that, as you can really grasp this and take it into your life, over the short term and really the long term, it is one of those things that applies to every part of your life. It's not that hard to understand. And when you do it, it makes your life way better, of course, in terms of making money and all of that, but also you can take it into your relationships, into your personal life, and you'll feel more happy, more stable, all that good stuff. So we're going to go really deep on that. So if you want to join, you can get on Zoom. And then if you chat in, I can then see what you're chatting in. But yeah, it's going to be just me tonight. Drake has got another engagement. He's doing some presentation or something locally. It's like a 3-hour meeting. Shout out Drake. He's going to apply all of this tonight already. So welcome to the party. Let's dive in. So if you got questions or anything, again, you're going to have to drop them in the Zoom because I'm not going to check Facebook because it's just a big distraction place. Love Facebook, but also I know myself well. Okay. So I titled this one, various titles, but it's basically like going beyond the billionaire hedge fund manager. Okay. There's a billionaire hedge fund manager who has put forth a word that has become very popular nowadays. I remember back when I lived in Boston, I actually had a friend who printed out the whole book for me before it became a book. And it was like all these, we were at a co-working space and he like maxed out his printer thing. It was like 180 pages. It was printed. And then I highlighted it. And I remember reading it on a plane one time. I was actually going from Boston, flying to LA, because it was the first time that I was going to meet with Ty Lopez. And I remember reading it and just being like, wow, if I wasn't on a plane right now, it's so dense. It's like, if you ever been on a plane and you read a book and you planned ahead and you can actually read, where there's no distractions, you're like in the zone. Oh man, that's one of my favorite feelings, And I remember just reading this and being like, this is really dense stuff. I could tell at the time I wasn't comprehending it. But I saw how this level of thinking is required, especially if you want more out of your life. I'll get to it in a moment of like, what is the actual topic at hand? But here's just a funny thing that I'm going to preface this conversation with. In the Self-Perfected group, we have very audacious goals. Very audacious goal, the most audacious. Like, I know JJ's over there talking about disrupting the music industry, getting celebrities on board with actually doing what's best for all. We got Drake out there talking about reforming education, not just with like, standard education, but also like how we educate the kids, like daycares, that kind of stuff. I was just meeting with Pedro earlier today. He's talking about how he can literally run for governor in our state. He's still too young, but as soon as he's of age, he's going to do that. They're just really, really audacious people in this group. And so sometimes we will put forth things that you can reason it out with common sense. But sometimes, because if you don't have the result already, sometimes people will find ways to like nitpick. For example, we have certain things we put forward about parenting, such as if you yell at your kid and hit your kid, that's going to have an effect on your kid. And sometimes we'll make posts about that. And certain people who just want to nitpick because it's social media and they like to do that, they'll leave a comment and they'll go, well, you don't have kids yet. You don't have kids yet. You can't say that. It's like, yeah, you can. Common sense. If you yell at a kid and hit a kid, it's going to have a negative effect on the kid. It doesn't matter if I have a kid or not. Then there's other things too, where if someone were to be like, well, being a parent is actually easy, but they don't have a kid, that makes sense. Why you would say, well, easy for you to say, buddy, because you don't have a kid. But there's certain fundamental principles that you can't argue. We can have conversation about, that's great, okay? But I'm laying some groundwork here, because what we're going to get into is pretty heavy duty. And as you can take it on for yourself, you virtually become unstoppable. You become invincible. Some may even advocate that you become immortal if you look at what it is to be a human, what it is to be a human being specifically, and what you're here to do and what happens after you die and all that stuff. But that is way further tonight. We'll get into that. And I'm bringing this up because as I look at the world system, I look at the people who have power, the people who are, like the billionaires, hedge fund managers, people who are politicians, people who pull the strings, World Economic Forum, Trilateral Commission, all these different groups. I'm not in those groups yet. One day, I'm down to be. I don't know. Maybe I won't be invited. Maybe I pay to get in and they deny my application. That's secondary. That's less relevant. What I am advocating is that I have common sense reasoning, as I know many of you do. And there are certain things about the way that the world is set up right now that don't make sense. We talk about this a lot, but this bears repeating. And these trainings are all going on YouTube. And I have a really cool thing I'll share with you guys at the end of this call too. The worldwide debut of this. It's basically a way that we've compiled all the different trainings and the best stuff from this group as an easy access sheet for you guys. So you can use it and you can share it with people. I'll share that at the end of this call. But as we go through these trainings, we're able to open up more and more, because like JJ, we were talking about as the call started, like how you're taking action on all of this stuff. And like Matthias, I know you're doing that. Vianney, like Shelby, Alejandro, I know I've chatted with many of you and you're like taking this on fully, which is awesome. And I'm just sharing good stuff that I've seen make sense to me. I've reasoned it out for myself. And as more and more people can see this and we all work on this and implement this, these trainings are going to open up. So there'll be even more people coming on doing trainings, people from the group, because we have, again, very audacious goals in this group. Now, to bring that to present time is, I've read many books on money, business, the economy, things like that. Watched a lot of trainings. I mean, for the past decade, I've been looking at entrepreneurship, business, and all that. Now, there's people who have been at it way longer than me, Warren Buffett, Ray Dalio, these guys. But there's certain fundamental principles that when you can grasp them, they work really, really well. And if you miss them, it doesn't matter what you do, you'll trip and fall, like guaranteed. And so here's the crux of it is you don't have to be a billionaire to understand that there's a way that our money system is set up where we're literally creating abuse and slavery on the planet. Anyone have an iPhone? I don't know where my phone is. It's in this pocket. iPhone, right? iPhone. Yeah, iPhone's amazing. iPhone's amazing. Did you know that your iPhone comes from a factory in China where they basically have indentured servitude? They have child slavery, and they have people that have to work at these factories for 14, 16, 18 hours a day. Some people even live there. And they literally have body nets. You know what a body net is? It's on the second floor and higher in a building. They literally have nets outside the window. So if you want to jump out because your life is so shitty, you want to kill yourself, you land in a net, they get you, they scold you, and then they put you back to work. Okay? Not the most pleasant thing, but that's the way our world is right now. And to me, and I know to all of you, that's fucking unacceptable. Not cool, not good. We're here to change that. Now, there are certain people such as Ray Dalio and Warren Buffett and these guys that are, big capitalists and all that. And I'm pro-capitalism, don't get me wrong, but pro-capitalism to the extent of having child slavery and just manipulating the laws in other countries so we can have cheap labor and cheap products with an iPhone that breaks down every 2 years and you have to buy a new one. That's what doesn't make sense. So Self-Perfected and these trainings and the hangouts and everything we do in this group, the podcast, all of it is designed to help you see more and more what makes sense in the world, and then to empower you with the tools and the resources so you can go out there on the front lines, talk to people, be educated, also be confident, and then step up more and more so we can make these changes. If you were to try it overnight, say, hey, every factory in China that's got the body nets, it's got to shut down. No one's going to listen to you. They're going to laugh in your face and you'll be made fun of on social media. But what if we set that as a 20, 30-year goal? That we could have such an effect on business and culture and the media and influence, and we could get people into politics in the United Nations, where we have, let's say, 5,000 of us from the Self-Perfected group, and we're all able to make millions and millions of dollars, and we have networks of thousands of people each. That now we could have some say. Imagine we have an influencer network, and we can really expose a lot of these atrocities happening in the world. Like, that's the bigger picture of what we're doing. So with all of that being said, that's just some context so we can get into tonight what we're going to talk about. And this is where, again, so a lot of this stuff comes from this guy, Ray Dalio, where he is a multi-billionaire. Cool stuff. I suggest research his stuff. Like, his YouTube is really great. There's cool discussions he gives and animated shorts and stuff. His video on how the economic machine works, that's a really good one, especially if you have TechnoTutor. Put the vocabulary in before you watch it, and it gives you a really good understanding of how the economy works. Like, Ray Dalio is very brilliant. I'm not pretending like he's not a brilliant guy. Obviously, anyone could see that. He also, again, I'll edify him a little bit more before I then attack the point and make it really clear of a better way to do things. He has his book, Principles, which I have right here. And I will be taking little bits and pieces from it of stuff that we can use. Like, one of the principles within Self-Perfected is investigate everything, keep what is good. Ray Dalio has also got a short series. I think it's just called Principles or something like that, where it's an animated short, where he gives this analogy of like going through a jungle and how to learn and grow. And you'll try stuff and then you'll fail, and then you'll like loop back and then you learn. And he's really big on being cool with failure and pain and reflecting, so that way you're able to grow from it. And that stuff all, again, is great stuff. Recently, Ray Dalio came out with a book called The Changing World Order. And there's a pretty gnarly claim he made. Now, I don't want to misquote him or anything, but you can listen to it for yourself. And he's basically talking about how different societies throughout time have risen to a certain point of power, and then they fall. And he is alluding to China potentially being a future superpower. And yeah, I mean, you can look at it for yourself. And again, I don't want to misquote him, but things like that. Here's the thing. Ray Dalio is doing what he's programmed to do. Yes, he's directed himself and he has willpower and all of that, but there's some main things that he's missing. And again, easy for me to say, I'm not in his position. But at the same time, again, common sense reasoning. What is he accepting? What are we all accepting? It's not to blame him. What are we all accepting? Whether it's the billionaires or the people in China or whatever. On some level, we're all still accepting a system of abuse. We're accepting the fact that we can buy an iPhone for $800 or whatever, however much you pay for it, but that iPhone was made with child slavery, child labor. We're accepting the fact that we have a money system like the Federal Reserve. Go research it. They print money, they loan it to our government. Let's say they, loaned us $1,000, but now we have to pay them back with interest. Let's say $1,100. Where's the extra $100 come from? It's literally a built-in slavery system. And I can't talk too much about this stuff on Facebook because this is the kind of stuff that you ain't supposed to talk about, but it's in the open. It's on the back of your dollar bill. Want to know the ultimate pyramid scheme? Just take a $1 bill out of your pot. Here, let's do it. I got some cash today. Y'all want to know the ultimate pyramid scheme? See it? It's in plain sight. It's literally, if y'all aren't on video, I showed a $1 bill in the United States of America. It's got a pyramid on the back. And what I'm showing is this is the system that we've accepted. Now, I'm not here to just complain. I'm here with real solutions, and it's stuff that we've implemented and tested for the past years, and it works time and time again. It works every single time. So I'll read two things that I noticed from the Ray Dalio book, principles that are helpful. And I think, and just in general for training, again, get the book, read it for yourself. There's some good stuff in there, but you'll also see that there's implicitly within what he's writing, he's accepting that we have a system of abuse. He's accepting that we can't change that. And there's a key point that he just doesn't know any better. Well, I'll get into that in a moment, okay? One is pain plus reflection equals progress. Cool one to write down. Pain plus reflection equals progress. I know a lot of us like to avoid pain. Some of us get all weird about pain too. We're go into this whole emotional thing, but really physical pain, you getting out of your comfort zone. JJ, you're talking about getting a new place, and it's I'm sure there's some pain in it because you got to switch your schedule around and go drive to the place and talk to the people and all that, or many of us are here in sales and business. You're always pushing yourself. Many of us are in relationships too. There's times where being in a relationship, there's some pain with that, either your own pain or you and your partner are in a disagreement or something. But yeah, Veronica's moving. There's some pain with that. It doesn't mean though, here's another cool phrase. I'd write this one down. Pain isn't that painful. That's a cool one, especially for those of you who have technotude. I would put that one through. Pain isn't that painful. But nonetheless, pain plus reflection equals progress. Because sometimes success can be an enemy. Sometimes we get success. Let's say you're selling some product and you have success because you kind of got lucky. And then you're yeah, I had success. Yes, this is amazing. But then you don't take the moment to reflect on why you got the success. And then you actually didn't learn the lesson. And then you're walking along and you're yeah, I'm great. It's you walked across the street one time and you successfully made it to the other side of the street. So you're yeah, this is awesome. But you didn't realize that there are cars a lot of the time. So then you're walking across another street and you're well, there were no cars last time. You might get hit by a car. Same thing in life. So another really cool thing that I've learned through this process of pain plus reflection equals progress is writing down why you had the success. So you could be, let's say you made a sale and that was what you wanted to do. I would encourage you, ask yourself, why did I make the sale? ? Or let's say, JJ, you had a hit song and you had, 50,000 people listen to your song. You say, why was it a hit? ?
Can I answer that?
Yeah. Let's hear it.
So that's a great point, because why I had that success was because at that time in my life, I was super disciplined and consistent with every single action that I took. I was living by myself again, I was living alone, right, at a house, at my great-grandparents' house, right? And I was gardening every single day and I was just focused. But again, I was living by myself. So that's why it's so important for me to do the same exact thing that got me there, right? Like replicating that environment, replicating those actions that helped get you to where you got in the first place. After that, I was focused, and then I turned 5K into 50K, and then put all that into the music. Because I was focused, disciplined, consistent. I was jump roping 5 minutes every single day. Like the exercise routine was on point. Exam, zero distractions. That's a key though, is like the exercise routine was so on point. So by doing 75 hard, it's the consistency and the physical, right? The action is just action equals having an effect.
Yes, sir. Right on. Right on. That's great. Okay. So yeah, when you have success, again, because sometimes when you fail, you're in pain, and then it kind of forces you to look at the thing where you're like, I wish that didn't happen. How can I learn from this? But sometimes success, again, it will cause us to be blind if we're not careful. It doesn't have to be that way though. When you have the success, as long as you have a discipline, that's why we do these trainings every week. That's why we have the hangouts every week. That's why we have the podcast. It's a system that you can plug into so you can have time to reflect on your life, which is pretty cool. Okay, here's the one other part from the book I'm going to read, and then we're going to open up some really cool points. He says, look to nature to learn how reality works. So simple. I'm sure we've all heard stuff like that before, but I was reminded of this like a week ago, roughly a week ago. Might have been talking about this on one of the hangouts, but look at a seed. One seed contains within it the potential for millions of seeds. So when that seed is planted well, and it's got the sunlight and the water and the, just the right stuff was put into it, that seed will grow. Has to be in the right environment. Consider this now. You have like tons of seeds within you already. You are a seed as well. Do y'all see how environments like this, where you can take time every week to reflect on the business, on your life, on what you're working on, that creates that environment, which allows the seed to germinate and grow and all that. And sometimes seeds grow at different speeds. Sometimes seeds grow really fast. Other times it's like, dang, like if you ever plant a fruit tree, it takes 7 years. 7 years. Where else have I heard 7 years? Interesting. Look to nature to learn how reality works. So that is some cool stuff from this book, Principles. And like I said, investigate everything, keep what's good. Stuff from Ray Dalio, some of it's pretty good. Now here's the part. Here's like the drum roll, please. The main point for us to all see is, well, Ray Dalio doesn't know yet, because none of us have told him yet, but it's cool. We'll get connected to him at some point. Or maybe it'll be to his kids or his grandkids, if he's got kids. Is what so many of us are still accepting is the belief that the average human cannot change. I'm going to say that again. So many of us are accepting the belief that the average human cannot change. We might be accepting that within ourselves, like there's just some part of my personality, it just ain't going to change, or some belief I have, it just ain't going to change. Or you have, let's say, a family member, and you're like, they're just always the same, and I'm just so annoyed by them. They never change. Or we look at a situation like we'd say, Ray Dalio, he's just never going to change. He's just this billionaire, and he's got his mind made up, and he's doing his thing. You say, oh, the people in China who are manufacturing the iPhones that we've been talking about, they just ain't going to change. So instead of pointing the finger at other people, or you can point the finger at other people, but then realize you have the 3 pointing back at you or whatever. It's like, okay, cool. So now let me look at this for myself. How can I change? How can I change? And really, why should I change? Why should I change? And why can I change? So Mr. Dalio and Elon Musk and these guys, there's a lot of talk of this. They call it first principles thinking. And it's a helpful way of reasoning things out. And if you never looked it up, watch some YouTube videos on it, but understanding like first principles thinking, it's like you reason from what is fundamentally true. So like when Elon Musk was looking at starting Tesla, he was looking at the raw material prices of the titanium and the cobalt and all the stuff he needed. And then he would reason based off of that, because he knew that demand for energy was going to keep increasing. And so he could basically reason out that, hey, it makes sense to do this move. So you can use this line of thinking in everything you do. And this took me years to really understand this stuff. And I'm still working on it. But here's now where self-perfected comes in. And this is what is so unique about this group. I did not come up with this stuff, but it makes sense to me because it's common sense. Is deciding to live your life and making an agreement to live your life based on principles. Can you use the principles from Ray Dalio's book? You could, but you're going to keep perpetuating the old system. There are certain principles that are helpful, but a real principle, let's call it a principle with a capital P, that is the 13 principles we discuss in this group. And that is what the billionaire hedge fund managers are missing with all their fancy principles and Elon Musk and first principles reasoning. The fundamental principle, my friends, is the principle of doing what is best for all. That is the part that everybody, including us, we're still missing here and there. We don't have to go into blame or pity or, oh no, I messed up or whatever. No, it's cool. It's just in every single moment, living that agreement of saying, yeah, it makes sense that we should do what's best for all. I mean, does it make sense to do the alternative? Let's just do what's best for half of us. Let's do what's best for everyone except that one person. It doesn't make sense. It's let's do what's best for everyone. And now then the reaction is, how do you know what's best for everyone? Well, let's just look at the stuff that makes sense. Is it best that is it best that we have people manufacturing iPhones that are literally child slaves and they have to work there 12 to 14 hours a day? Is that best? Hell nah. How do you know? Would you want to trade places with them? Not me. I know you wouldn't either. No one wants to sit in a factory for 12 to 14 hours a day building something. What are some other basic things we could agree on? Clean drinking water. Is it best that some people don't have clean drinking water? Of course not. We all need clean drinking water. How about nutritious food? And for nutrition for you might be different than me, might be different than JJ and Veronica and everything. But nonetheless, we all need nutrients in our body. Is it best that we have clean air? Simple stuff like that. So again, it's not to now say, okay, now we need to know all the different applications. It's the principle is who you are. And you say, I'm going to do what's best for all life, and I'm going to do my best to figure it out because I want to give to others how I want them to give to me. And the really cool thing is, as you make that commitment and you live that, life understands that because you're life itself, and it starts to reflect back to you. It's not always instant. Sometimes when you make this decision, certain stuff in your life might actually fall apart. Don't worry, that was stuff that wasn't real anyway. Because when you really take this on, life has your back. So the thing that we're going to now really start opening up in these trainings, both tonight, give a little taste test, a little appetizer, and then over the next weeks to come, is basically how your life can be built on rock solid foundation, beyond rock solid. Rocks can still break. This is like diamond solid, like whatever the hardest substance is. If anyone knows it, drop it in the chat. Probably, I don't know. JJ, I feel like you know this answer. Yeah. Okay. The bedrock, John. I like that. It's like, this is the bedrock by which everything else can build. Because how cool would it be? Some of you already realize this, but where when you build and you make decisions and every single day you live your life, you know you're not going to have to reset ever again. It's not going to be like, ooh, I'm building and building, and then all of a sudden, oh no, it crashed and I have to build it again. Oh, how cool would it be to just know, no, this is like an investment that's compounding literally for the rest of your life, because it is your life, and your life will compound. Each breath, it accumulates. And so in every single breath, with every single word, every single moment, it builds and it builds and it builds. And then as you live the principles and as others live the principles, and we come together in an agreement of saying, look, we're going to hold each other accountable to living these principles. We're going to support each other. We might fall short sometimes. It's okay. We can forgive ourselves. When we have these principles, with the first principle being what's best for all, do you see how that is literally the foundation now by which we change the world? No other group's talking about, I mean, that the Destiny group is talking about this, but aside from that, no other group's talking about this. See, if they were, I mean, maybe if someone's saying best for all, cool, let's connect, because best for all would be the same best for all. Again, it's objective. It's objective. So now, to keep feeding this into like the next level for all of us, I'm going to encourage you. If you've never looked up the 13 principles, I can post them. I have a PDF. We had them on the website. I'm revamping the website. That new website is going to be really, really like amazing. Like we're going to have hundreds of testimonials on there. I hit up a Lottie for it already. And but if you haven't taken time to look at the 13 principles, I'm going to encourage you, like, find a way to get that engineered into part of your life. Again, I'll drop the PDF in the comments after this. We made one. Shout out Christine. I think she designed it, so it looked really nice. When I designed it, it just looked like a big wall of text. I was like, Christine, this needs the female touch. This is bad. And so it looks really nice. And when you can start to now put into your environment these reminders of what are the principles all about, what does this mean to live by principle? Okay. Have any of you ever been in a relationship? And it's like, once it started, it was like really fun. You're like, ooh, it feels good. It feels like fireworks, it's all tingles. Ooh, yeah, spicy, right? Maybe you had a fun night together, fun whole week, or even months. And it was really good. And the energy was so high. And it was like, no matter what they did, you just felt in love. And it was so good and just passionate. So awesome. And then at some point, it somehow mysteriously wore off. And it crashed. What? How would that happen? Okay. Consider. There's a way where you could actually start that relationship and it still has the buildup of the passion and the fun, and it feels good and better, but it never has to end. And it's not to say that now every day is so good and it's the most amazing thing ever. But actually, when you can really look at it and you do it right, every day can actually be the best day yet. And it can build and build and build and build and build and build. And at some point, it's like a compound effect. It's like, woo. And people around you are like, wow, you guys are amazing. How'd you do that? And your life gets better because you're with them. And their life gets better because they're with you. That is really what it means to have a relationship based on principle. It's just a little switch in the beginning. It's so tiny. It's like a little 2 millimeter switch. But where it's like very easy to just go into the energy and the experience and the excitement and the butterflies. But in that moment, if you could say, hey, this is really good and I'm loving this and we should keep doing this. I'm just wondering, though, what it would look like for us to actually really come together and have our relationship really mean something. So you can define your relationship and what it means. It's not like you have to write a contract and sign a contract or anything. Like some people get all carried away. Like, this sounds like a business deal. It's not a business deal. It's just you using your words and them using their words and having a mature conversation to say, hey, look, I really like you because this, and this. And they say, I like you because this, and this. And then you come together and say, look, what can we agree on? What could be a good foundation? And then based on that, then we can build everything on top of that. Because now when that foundation's there and it's sound, it's complete. Now you got each other's back. And again, there's going to be days where it's tough. There's going to be days where it's not pleasant. But every single time, then you can learn and you can grow. And it's really cool. Austin, I saw you throw something in the chat. You want to just, if you can share for a moment on what that process is like, you taking on principles?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's just been totally different. Like, we didn't start off our relationship having techno tutor or anything like that. And we can just see a dramatic shift within ourselves, our resonance, the judgment, just the taking of responsibility and things like that. And I mean, it seems like when I talk to people sometimes about techno tutor, it's like everything that you can think of consciously is going to happen. like the results and whatnot. But then there's all this stuff that it's going to do even more so on the subconscious and unconscious side than you can even think of consciously, right? And so it's like, that's why Cameron was saying one day, we can't process how, like, somebody that doesn't have TechnoTutor, can't process all of the benefits they're going to have from using TechnoTutor. And so it's like, we couldn't even process like how much of just a better day, relationship, connection, communication, life, all of this like synergy that we would have from having a relationship based on principles. And so, yeah, I mean, it's just been great in all different areas, hands down, you know, from the year and a couple months now that we've had TechnoTutor. So yeah, having a relationship based on principles and yeah, is a must.
That is so awesome. That's awesome. And I know you're bringing up TechnoTutor here because a principle is something that is in words, like it's written in words. And if we're unconsciously reacting to the words and we don't have a clear definition of the words and the meaning of the words, and it's not all there, we aren't going to fully be able to live that principle. I mean, I know you see this. I'm just articulating this for people. Is like, that's a huge part of having the principles, is that then it becomes part of you and it's automatic. So when shit hits the fan and you want to freak out or you want to cuss out your partner or whatever happens, in that moment, you're like, whoa, hold on. That was some old pattern. And then you can do the self-forgiveness, the self-correction, and then that's living the agreement. And it's like you're working as a cohesive unit. Let me ask y'all, do you want to just go through life like alone? Like, yeah, just me, lone wolf. Yeah, sure. Sometimes it's helpful to be alone because you can have a little space. But in general, isn't it fun to be part of a team? Fun to be part of a group, right? Working together, you know, cool ideas. Like everyone's got their skills that they bring to the table. It's like we're so much better together. So the point that I'm bringing forth here to bring this to a, not even conclusion, just to really cement this in here. Actually, I just realized one other thing. I have to bring this up. It's so good. But it's what we have, that these billionaire hedge fund managers and these other people that are talking about principles and all that stuff, and it sounds all flashy and it gets the clicks on YouTube and it works. Like if you're a physicist and you're engineering spaceships, of course, you got to have first principle thinking. But real first principles is the principle of what's best for all, and all of us living those principles and coming together, and what that ripples into over the next 50 years, that is going to be wonderful. So, you know, I'm living that. I mean, you all know the people in the group who are living it. And if you want support with that, reach out, because it's one thing to hear it intellectually. It's another thing then when it's like part of you and you know how to live your life like that on a day-to-day basis. Now, there's the one other thing I wanted to bring up is I've been hearing about this concept for a while. It's called finite games versus infinite games. And there's a book by this guy, Simon Sinek. He actually took it it's called The Infinite Game is what he wrote, but he took it from some article written in like the 70s or something. And when I first heard about it, I was like, games, I don't want to whatever games. But then I realized his definition of game, he meant like everything. Like your marriage is a game. This group is a game. Business is a game. Your relationship with working out is a game. And I'll just plant the seed because, again, remember, look to nature, right? Like we were talking about earlier. Plant the seed. It might grow, it might not. It might lay dormant for a year and then it'll grow. But I just want to plant this because it fits in perfectly with what we're talking about. Many times we'll fall into the trap of thinking in terms of a finite game. What that means is, let's say you're like, I'm going to get in shape. I made a New Year's resolution. I'm going to lose 30 pounds. I'm going to have that, six pack that I wanted, and I'm going to feel great. But you're doing it just for that. So it's finite. You're most likely not going to hit it. Or if you hit the goal, you're going to then go back because you were just doing it thinking from a finite game perspective. Not to blame, not to feeling pity or anything. It's just this is one way of looking at what's going on. Whereas looking at it from an infinite game perspective is saying, okay, for the rest of my life, I'm going to be as healthy as I can within reason. I'm not going to go crazy and drink green juice 12 hours a day, but it's like, I'm going to do what I can within practicality to have the best healthy life I can. And so the infinite game is saying, so, okay, here's the definitions. Finite game is there's a set number of players with set rules. So you know what winning is. So that's where you'd be, oh, I lose the 30 pounds, therefore I'm X weight. Great, I'm good. Finite game. Infinite game is there's an unknown amount of players with unknown rules. And the objective can keep moving, basically. So the infinite game approach would be saying, look, I'm going to go to the gym because it's just part of who I am, and I'm playing this for the rest of my life. You see how you might show up a little, and you're always looking to get better. You're like, hey, I did lose 30 pounds, but cool, what if I could lose 33 pounds or 35 pounds? Or now I'm my ideal weight. Now what if I put on a little more muscle mass? Or I could now run a 6-minute mile instead of a 9-minute mile or whatever. It's this infinite game. Or like JJ, your music, I'm sure you're always but this is what's fascinating is maybe on some level, you're like, okay, after I get that one album out, or I get that one shout out, or I get that one time I'm RIAA or whatever your goal is, that's like finite game thinking. And that's okay. There's some times where, yeah, there's objectives you want to hit, but the real thing that's driving you is the ultimate outcome, which is best for all, where the music is aligned with what's best for all. Your life is living that. You're the best version of yourself, all of that.
Can I share on that?
Yeah, go for it.
Dude, so the infinite, I'm so glad we're having this training. Like this should be worth like $100,000. Like people pay hundreds and thousands of dollars for this conversation right here, this coaching, this network. So everyone look at that, right? Like this is next level stuff. And that point of infinite games, dude, like this is so important because it's that mentality of switching to that finite of, all right, then this song will be the one, rather than the infinite game of it's about longevity. It's apropos. I have a song titled The Dynasty, and that's just, think about how long the dynasties are, like thousands of years, right? But now what if we create a dynasty of a world that's best for all? That's a true dynasty. Like that's exactly what we're here to do. I had a presentation yesterday for my dad's side of the family, and my great grandparents, I lived with them from 0 to 8. So that natural learning ability, like my great grandfather, World War II veteran, Bataan Death March, prisoner of war, like all that stuff. I lived with them from 0 to 7, right? So I've seen them in their 80s, coming from parents that were in there as teenagers, right? My great grandparents were the stability in my life. So I look at it now, it's like the infinite game is, wow, like we need to like this the long game. Like imagine if I was in my 80s, like what kind of world can I create? Right? Like my great grandfather said, pray to live till you're 100. I'm like, okay, so like infinite game, like being immortal, like the legacy of what we can create. Right?
Yeah. It's very cool vocabulary. Again, like this is a seed. For some of you, you might hear this and right away you're like, yo, that makes sense here. Others might be like, whatever, but a month from now or something. And it's like the thing that got me with this right before we wrap up is I was looking at a couple different things in my business where I was like, okay, once I hit this objective, then we're good. Then I can move on to this. And it was like I was aware of the infinite game, but it didn't really click. Like you ever have those moments where it clicks, you almost feel it. You're like, whoa, like, okay, wow. That clicked for me the other day where I was really starting to see that like my craft of like marketing, influence, recruiting, all these things, that's an infinite game. Whereas before I was like, yeah, I'm going to learn sales and stuff or business just so I can get to a certain point. It's like, no, those skills, because they're transferable too, and it compounds and it grows. And even when we do make the world best for all, we change the education system, we change the political system, we change the money system, it's still an infinite game. Then we got to keep it that way. And then we'll have new vocabulary. Like we're literally going to create an entirely new vocabulary, probably a new language. It'll be built on English, but there'll be so much stuff we don't even know, like infinite game. We didn't even know that concept 10 minutes ago. Now we're here. Imagine what we'll do in 50 years. We'll have new words and new concepts. Man, imagine when everyone has TechnoTutor, how much we'll be able to process. There's a lot. So to bring it all home here is principles, real principles. like principles with a capital P. And the first one is to do what is best for all. And you can just reason it out with common sense, connect with other people in this group, be able to really process that, take it on, study it, live it. And as we work together with that, we can really open up, and we are opening up a whole new realm of possibility in what we can do. Okay. So in the trainings to come, Drake and I got a lot in store of how you can take this so you can have a really awesome life. Because I know all of us here want to make more money, have more freedom, have even cooler life, cooler relationships, travel more, all that good stuff. All of that can come from being built on this foundation. Because again, when you build on the foundation of what is best for all, no one can take that from you. Every day it's building stronger and stronger and stronger. You never have to reset. No more great reset needed. Just best for all principles and us working together, creating that. So I did promise at the end, I would give you that sheet of the new self-perfected stuff. I'm going to post it in the chat. Not in the chat, in the comments for this live stream. It's a spreadsheet that's got a compilation of basically all of our top resources, trainings, all the trainings we've ever done here. A lot of people hit me up like for that systems thinking training we did and other ones. So it's just always going to be added to that sheet, and it's going to be a full library, and it's literally all just free for people to use. So we can all get super, super, super smart and rich. And then as we do that, we can now have clubhouses all over the world and this whole network, and we take over in the best way. So with that being said, shout out Shelby. What Shelby said. All that can come being built on the foundation of what is best for all principles. Exactly. And the only way we can really build forward as the future of humanity is by building off that principle. Everything else is leading us to destruction. This AI race, to child, slavery, all that stuff. It's going to keep collapsing and collapsing till it's all automated. But what's best for all will remain forever. So you're in one boat or the other, stay on the lifeboat and then bring your friends on. Okay. So we got, again, the event in San Diego, this times a million. Like this literally times a million is what we're going to be doing in San Diego. Get your ticket, find a way to get there. It's insanely cheap. Like to be like a $10,000 event ticket, it's going to be amazing. Go to a clubhouse near you. We got clubhouses all over New York, New Jersey, California, Canada, Germany, all over. And plug in and then hop on the Friday night hangouts, and tune into that podcast. We had to move to Rumble. So, stay tuned on that podcast. They keep getting better and better. And then reach out for support. If you resonate with anyone on this call, myself, JJ, Austin, anyone here, Veronica, reach out, connect, build the network, support each other, give. And as we keep doing that, this whole thing spreads. Okay. So thanks for tuning in. I know your time and resources are super valuable. So thanks for being part of this, and just please share, y'all. All right. The world needs us, and we need us. And so let's do it. All right. Thanks everyone. See ya.
Woo. There you go.
Yeah.